Welcome back to Marketing Connected. I'm your host, Rizwana Manjur, and this is Agency Agenda, a show that puts the mic in front of agency leaders, diving into how they navigate the ever-evolving advertising landscape. We have in the studio with us Sir Martin Sorrell, a titan in the advertising world.
A titan in his own mind.
A titan nonetheless, from founding WPP and transforming it to a global powerhouse to now leading S4 Capital. He's been at the forefront of the digital media revolution. We'll explore his perspective on Asia, the evolving business landscape, and where the industry is headed. He's also known for replying all emails within 4 hours.
Well, yeah, sort of, yeah.
You are.
I have nothing else to do.
I'm sure nobody's going to buy that, but we're going to get into that. We're honored to have you here with us.
Good to be with you.
Thank you for joining us.
Pleasure.
You've seen the industry evolve from Mad Men era to now, as you mentioned, data-driven.
Yeah.
What's one area that you feel still hasn't changed?
Well, strategic and creative still, you could argue, in an AI age becomes even more important. So, for example, James Quincy, who's the CEO of Coke, I remember we were on a call, and he said, if everybody's personalizing at scale, does that mean that, Coca-Cola's advertising will be the same as everybody else's? Yeah. So how do you differentiate? And I would argue that puts a premium on strategic and creative, but strategic and creative that understands data, that doesn't condemn data. The mucky mucks in our industry are fond of putting on rose-tinted spectacles and looking back to the days of Don Draper and Mad Men and saying, data is the enemy of creativity. That's nonsense. It informs creativity, and tech is the same. So the answer, I think, to the question is strategic and creative remain pivotal, but complemented by data and tech. And they're not the enemy of creativity. They enhance creativity. Data gives you deep insights into consumers, and tech gives you an ability to deliver the insights and the consequent creative work in an even more effective way.
How's the vision of S4 having to evolve since all of this has happened? Because I know when we started, it was conversations around first-party data, digital content, programmatic media.
Well, the four principles of S4, or Monks, its operating brand Monks, as we now call it, they were digital only, and the market is 70% digital, and that part of the market is a $1 trillion market. It's 700 billion digital, and that's growing at 10, 15, 20%. Look at the Q2 results of Meta and Amazon and Alphabet and Tencent and Alibaba and ByteDance. So that's even more important. And it'll be 80% by 2030, we think. Data-driven, in an AI age, data has become, the new oil. I shouldn't say that. The new acceptable fuel.
Okay.
And then the third area, we go to market, or third principle, we go to market as faster, better, cheaper, and we added and more. We agonize over whether we should use the word cheaper.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, but we think in a world which is going to grow more slowly, where inflation is higher and interest rates are higher, growth is going to be more difficult to come by, and therefore efficiency and reducing cost and being more effective really come to the fore. So, there are two big trends at the moment. One is fragmentation of geography, given US-China relationships or lack of them.
Correct.
Russia and Iran being the three big geopolitical problems. You layer tariffs on top of that.
Yeah.
It's a bit messy at the moment, and it's a bit volatile to say, you get up in the morning and, there's President Trump saying, I'm going to put a tariff on furniture of 200% or whatever it was. So you don't know whether you're coming or going. So that creates a lot of uncertainty. But once the fog of tariffs clears, the three basic problems politically, I don't think will go away. They're almost immutable. There are two things that are important. One is choosing growth regions. So Asia is very important in that context. And the second thing is being super efficient and super effective. So I think that the AI worm will turn in a way once we get the tariff fog out of the way, and we go into 2026 when there'll be a premium, improving margins or maintaining margins and efficiency. So faster, better, cheaper and more because of AI, even more relevant.
Yeah.
And then the final one is unitary brand.
Okay.
Very difficult to do, very difficult to implement. But, you know, you look at One Publicist, you look at what WPP are trying to do, I think they've gone about it in totally the wrong way. We may get into that. Or even Omnicom in a much more gentle, actually, I think in a pretty thoughtful way. If you think about what John Renner's done with Omnicom Advertising Group, he's taken TBWA, BBDO, DDB, and instead of doing what Reed did at WPP and destroying the brands, he's maintained the brands. He's put Troy Ryan in top of it, on top of it, and gently, I think. I mean, I'm sure behind the arras or behind the curtain, it's a little bit more violent. But you know, he unifies the advertising group into a more cohesive group and tries to leverage the economies. That's, I think, what WPP should have done. But yeah, I think Reed is a bureaucrat, a consultant.
Were you shocked by the news when it came out
What news?
of Mark Reed stepping down?
I wasn't shocked. They've been on the cards, I think, for 2 years. People within inside WPP have been saying it for 2 years. It was a sort of.
What do you make of?
I think it was the incompetence of the previous chairman, and no accountability.
Some might say you might say it because of your past.
No,
You're always
no.
been
I mean,
harsher.
look, it was just the result. You don't destroy brands. I think JWT, Y&R, Grey, even
Yeah.
Wonderman. These are storied brands.
Iconic, yeah.
And I got contrast it with what John's doing at Omnicom. He's maintained the brands, and he is trying. Some might argue it's too gentle, but it's from the outside too gentle. But what he's trying to do is to maintain, which is, I think, is dead right, strength of brand, and bring them together into a more cohesive group. You know, what WPP is now trying to do with the 3 agency brands. But at the heart of the problem, it wasn't about digitizing JWT or Y&R or Wonderman. It was about the leadership of those brands. And you know, the argument was always made that simplicity was important, that it was important to simplify the company, that, you know, there were 400 agencies and a big mess. That's nonsense. There were probably, when I left, about 12 business lines. It was a little bit more complicated, but simplicity is the hobgoblin in my mind of small minds. If I sound a bit caustic, I'm deliberately so, because I don't think the tragedy about this is the lack of accountability. I mean, we're 9 months in,
Yeah.
and we have a new CEO.
Yeah.
She has an unenviable task,
Yeah.
but she comes from a tech background. You know,
What do you make of it, of getting someone from outside our industry?
Well, it's different.
Okay.
We have to see. I've said publicly, I think WPP has gone past the point of no return, and that the best route would be to break it up. Others disagree. We'll see. But, you know, maybe Cindy Rose has tech talents and transformational talents that will defeat that thesis. I think actually, from a stock market point of view or a valuation point of view, the individual units would do better. I know people say you have to have integrated holding companies. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think in a super digital age or super AI age, scale is not necessarily the most important. It's brain power. So I'm not sold on that.
Okay.
You know, I think advertising is going to be very similar to investment banking. You'll have your Goldman, you know, which Publicis would be Goldman, if you like. You have your Morgan Stanley, maybe that's Omnicom. But the other end of the scale, you'll have your Rothschilds, you'll have your Evercore, you'll have your Clearview. I mean, you'll have a multiplicity of smaller banks.
Yeah.
The middle ground probably will be tougher, but you'll have the big and the small. So you'll have your big global networks, and you'll have your boutiques.
What would you make of the argument that you acquired some really great brands when you were building up S4, and now we hear only of the Monk's name? We don't hear the rest of the brands as much anymore.
Well, I think, I said to you we have four basic principles, the fourth of which was unitary.
Yeah.
That is even more relevant, I think, today because of things like One Publicis and WPP Open. They're all trying to do the same thing in a way. But it is a difficult thing to do. Doing deals is easy. Integrating businesses is very tough.
Yeah.
And we integrated, we brought together effectively 34 businesses.
And 34 different egos.
And it's not just the egos, sets of egos, because you have multiple egos. And you're right. No, I mean, the question is a really good one because it is extremely difficult to do. In an AI world, in theory, it should be easier to do. The egos control the flow of information.
Mm-hmm.
And what AI does is disseminate information broadly. So my favorite example, which I quote endlessly, is Jensen Huang has 51 direct reports. How is it possible for one human being to have 51 direct reports? Well, the theory would say, and I'm trying to get Harvard Business School to do a case study on it because I think it's so interesting. The theory would say that enables you to flatten the organization. There's also Sorrell's law of cooperation, which is the deeper you go inside an organization, the more people are cooperative.
Okay.
The further up to the organization you go, the less they are. Unless you have a real jewel, a person who's good and shares. People who are good and share are very rare. People are good by definition are good, but the ones that share are super good. And I think that's what Jensen Huang is getting at. And I think that's the big opportunity to flatten the organization and get people to work together dependently. And the biggest problem inside companies, if I was to write a book on advertising.
You should.
Yeah, maybe I should. That's where I would get shot. If I was to write a book on advertising, I would say that it's all about the biggest problem for client and agency is politics with a small p. It's politics, organizational politics. The ability of human beings to subvert corporate purpose inside organizations is unbelievable.
So I also want to talk about S4s or amongst clients, and you've got a heavy reliance on technology partners.
50%.
You recently mentioned quite a fair bit about, how the volatility.
Well,
and
we've been having a tough time.
Yeah.
Because they are spending money on CapEx, not OpEx.
And so then, do you think that's impacted how your performance has been?
It has. But, I would say if we were super smart, we would have been able to carve out even a bigger share and maybe overcome that. But the honest answer, we've been under the gun and it's been difficult when the big tech companies are devoting so much of their investment. It's the accounting rules that you can capitalize capital expenditure, you have to amortize it over a period in some cases. But with OpEx, you have to expense it immediately. So it's easier to invest capital, and in the sense that it's probably a little bit easier to camouflage the impact. We have to see over a longer period of time whether that investment in CapEx works. I mean, institutional investors are rewarding the Mag 7 or the Mega 7 for investment at the moment. That may not be the case throughout the cycle. We have to see. But, basically, we've been finding it difficult.
Okay. But when you started, you were talking about the 20 Whopper clients that you wanted.
Yes,
right?
we're about halfway there. We've got almost 10.
Yeah. What stopped you from reaching the 20, you think?
Well, I mean, that's under our own control. I mean, if we
were you happy with the 10? Is that what you're saying? That you were happy enough with the 10 and you?
No. We want to get to 20. Yeah. We wanted 20 squared. It's become more difficult for the reasons that we've just been discussing. Having said that, we should be able to build in an AI age more of those client relationships. For a company our size doing about $1 billion in revenue, it's very unusual to have clients of our size. So somebody we were discussing, another company we were discussing recently said to us, they don't like account concentration. I like it because I think it's the emblem of success. If you build a relationship with a client organically, I'm not saying by acquisition, but organically, that's a sign that the client was pleased and the work that you've done historically had achieved the objectives and
Yep.
wanted to do more with you. So building relationships at scale, maybe it's because I was at Sarches and because I was at WPP, and those were both scale companies. I do like scale. I mean, I think you do get advantage of scale, and if you're big, you tend to have bigger relationships with clients.
Do you think that's still the case these days? Because so many clients are now preferring those niche relationships.
No, I don't think that's necessarily true. There are clients. This is the Coca-Cola model.
Okay.
I mean, it's come under the gun a bit with Publicis taking the media in the US at one end of the spectrum, and then General Motors is the other, where we're the beneficiary, we're the foundational agency for strategic agencies doing GMC, Buick, Cadillac, and Chevrolet. So, no, I don't think there is a uniform model, and I think the pendulum moves from unified, WPP open to, and Coke to General Motors and what we're doing. And then there are people in between who tend towards the holding company model. It so happens that some CMOs believe that holding companies can deliver good creative or great creative. Some CMOs believe that the bigger the agency, the worse it gets. So even in a tech and data-driven age. So I think it's different horses for different courses. I think there is we have three models. We have the outsource model to us. We have the embedded model where we put people into the client. And then we have the in-house model, with the subject of a Harvard Business School case study on in-housing media at Sprint and T-Mobile. So we're not frightened to do ourselves out of a job because we believe that if you in-house, well, first of all, we think that in-housing in some cases works. For example, I think media planning, in many cases with many clients, it would be better in-house than out-house. Certainly at General Motors, what I hear is that, them say nobody understands our business better than people at General Motors. And you could argue an outside point of view is a fresh point of view, and I'd go along with that. So there are certain things that, in this day and age, you need to be agile. You need to have first-party data, and you need to take back control. Too much stuff was outsourced after the great financial crisis when CFOs were saying, lessen the headcount. And in a data-driven, first-party data tech world, there are functions that are better in-house.
Fair enough. We spoke a little bit about agency consolidations, retaining those great brands that we grew up with. Are there any moves in recent times that actually surprised you, that you didn't see coming?
Omnicom and IPG surprised me on timing. I think if he'd waited, instead of having to give the IPG shareholders a third of the company, he could have got it for less. But, and I think the IPG share price was propped up by rumors that there would be a deal.
Okay.
So I was surprised by that. Now, having the flip side of that, Dentsu just said in their Q2 earnings that they're sort of implied they're looking for a strategic partner internationally. That's interesting. So
I'm going to ask you about Australia and India, which were really big on your radar about 4 years ago when we had a chat.
Australia is
that
big,
still the case?
Big, but not high growth, but important. India is super important.
Okay.
India is the alternative to China. If you're big in China, do you really want to be bigger given the Taiwan risk? What's the second biggest market in Asia? It's India. It will be the third largest market in the world. It has super good entrepreneurs. I would say both markets are super important. I think from a growth point of view, India takes the biscuit.
How do you stay on top of it all? Like
I'm interested. It's not
encyclopedia of
I'm not an encyclopedia. I'm an encyclopedia of non-entity information. Unless I'm interested.
And you like I said earlier, you respond within 4 hours. You stay on top of it all.
I'm interested. No, but it's not a question about how to do it. It's whether you're interested or not. As my dad used to say, my dad said, you can always make time for anything that you're interested in.
But you seem to have interests in all areas.
Yeah, not all areas.
What are you not interested in?
Golf. I like cricket. I love cricket.
Okay.
But
It's
I'm
dominated
not
by
a golf
the
fan.
players now.
I like soccer.
Okay.
I like
So what's your
football, I like
daily
basketball.
routine like? You wake up, throw the
wake up
golf
at about
clubs out the
6.
window every day.
I wake up at about 6,
Yeah.
and then I do my emails when I wake up. Might wake up a little bit earlier, 5:45 or something like that. I watch CNBC if I'm in the UK, or indeed in New York. So if I'm in London or New York, or UK or US, I would watch CNBC in the morning. Squawk Box. I usually sometimes have a breakfast out. Otherwise, I'll do it at the desk. Then I would have like 2 or 3 meetings or Zooms in the morning. Go out for lunch less than I used to.
Okay.
So I tend, because maybe it's
No
because
more
of
gin-soaked
Zoom.
lunches.
No. I'll do triple martinis. Maybe your day is Zoom soaked. You sit more at your desk, so I might have a lunch at the desk. 2 or 3 things in the afternoon. Dinners, I like to try and do less dinners. You put on so much weight if you have 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But sometimes dinners. And that's Monday to Friday. Saturday tends to be a down day. I mean, I'll do my emails and everything. And when I go to bed, there was a wonderful presenter on Newsnight called Emily Maitlis,
Okay.
who no longer does it. But so I love to go to bed at 10:30 with Emily Maitlis. And then Saturday tends to be a down day, and Sunday I work, actually. I do a Sunday email to everybody in the company, which they don't read,
What do you
which I read.
what do you make of the conversation around work-life balance? Because
How do you
the
spell
Gen
that?
Zs would be like, "What is he talking about?"
I didn't think, if
Crazy.
you enjoy it,
Yeah.
if you enjoyed something, what my dad said, if you enjoy it, you make time for it. So, no, I don't agree with that. We are in a 24/7 business. I mean,
Yeah.
what drives me nuts. So I always remember out of office messages drive me nuts. I don't like out of. I'm going to get myself shot for saying this. And I remember one guy at WPP had an out of office message. He said, "I am on holiday. I am at the bottom of an olive grove and unreachable." And I wrote him and I just said, "Look, it's fine for you to be on holiday. But, if I was a client and I had a crisis, I wouldn't appreciate that. I'd appreciate, in the event of crisis,
Reach out to
reach
so-and-so.
out to, your second favorite monk is what a lot of our people say." We are in a 24/7 business. And, the Labour, I remember being in China when the Labour government announced in the UK that they were going to put in rules, you couldn't disturb people after 5 or 6 in the evening.
They have that in Australia as well.
Yeah, and that's fine. But as I said to several people, crises with clients, and clients can be unreasonable. It has been known, and agency people can be
You
unreasonable.
don't say.
So I think you have to come to terms with the fact that you're in a 24/7 business. Having said that, what we do is interesting. So, if I was a golf caddy, I'd be bored.
Can't imagine you as a golf cat.
No.
Okay, final question for you. Is there anything that you regret in the years? Anything you don't want to repeat at S4?
Well, I wouldn't. I didn't like. Well, S4. Well, you look back at the integration. You could have done the integration better. QED. But I think about WPP, that was the financing of Ogilvy I screwed up. And, we paid a penalty for that, but we got it right eventually. The deals we did, JWC was excellent. That's why my heart bleeds when
And you see those
destroyed.
things already.
Ogilvy still in existence, not as strong maybe as it was, but still in existence. Y&R sadly gone. Gray sadly gone. those were the big bellwether agency deals. Taylor Nelson sold off now. I think on regrets, if I think back in history, if we put Group M and Kantar together, this is all 2020 hindsight, more aggressively. So if Erwin Gottlieb and Eric Salama, who were the two heads of those businesses, if I'd knocked their heads together, or if they'd got their heads together, with the benefit of 2020 hindsight, that would have created a data-driven media powerhouse. I think on the individual brands, we had great, we had Nick at Mindshare, Steve at Mediacom, Charles Courtier at Wavemaker. I mean, these are all, Christian Jewell was running Essence. I mean, these are all good leaders. And the problem that WPP went through, I think, is not about simplicity or complexity. The problem was about loss of good leaders. They've lost some hugely good people. And if you want to resuscitate Y&R, Wonderman, Grey, whatever, it's about the leadership of those brands. It's not that those brands are wrong. Or if you think VML should be with Y&R, call it Y&R. Don't call it VML. The only people who know VML are Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. Because VML is from Kansas City.
Fair enough. Did you read up on their engagement?
I did, yes.
There
yes.
we go.
And their podcast too. People were surprised.
You were listening to a Taylor Swift.
No, I have not listened to it. I was thinking today that I should listen to it actually, because the reviews were extremely good. Even the cynics said it was 12 million views.
I haven't seen it. I haven't heard it.
Oh, you too. Yeah. So you and I should listen to it.
Yes, I will.
I think it's 2 hours.
I'll exchange notes with you next week.
Okay, I shall go to sleep tonight listening to Taylor Swift.
Okay, with that, we've come to the end of our conversation. I can't believe after all of that heavy talking points, we ended up with Taylor Swift. But you never know where life takes you.
That's right.
But thank you so much.
It was Travis.
So with that, we've come to the end of this conversation. We've got lots more episodes that you can catch on our Marketing Connected channel and YouTube if you enjoyed today's session. Once again, thank you for tuning in to Marketing Connected, brought to you by Marketing Interactive. Take care. Bye.
Bye.